What do we have?
Breaking news in a Sports Center, former NBA player and coach Damon Jones pled not guilty to wire fraud and money laundering charges in a Brooklyn court today after being arrested in the FBI gambling sting last month. He was released on a $200,000 bond. He is accused of providing privileged NBA information for bets and for taking part in rigged poker games. We now welcome in ABC News Chief's investigative correspondent, Aaron Katersky, who was in the courtroom when Jones pled not guilty. Aaron, can you describe exactly what you saw?
What does he have to do with this? Relax.
And according to the indictment, Damon Jones used his celebrity to lure these players that were eventually defrauded out of millions. He pleaded not guilty to the conspiracy charges associated with that case. And now he's in a separate courtroom to plead guilty to conspiracy charges related to the sports betting allegations, in which he's accused of tipping off sports bettors that LeBron James wasn't going to play in a Lakers game against the Milwaukee Bucks back in February of 2023. He's going to walk out of court released on a $200,000 bond secured by his parents, putting up their Houston home as collateral. And Christine, federal prosecutors revealed during the hearing that he is engaging in plea talks, so it's possible that he will arrange to plead guilty to all or some of the indictment and avoid going to trial, but that may be a ways off.
Where's Brian?
Shall we begin?
When the reporter who's defended you for 20 years suddenly starts connecting your name to a gambling scandal, something's changed. LeBron James finds himself at the center of a story he didn't create, but can't escape. The real question isn't just about guilt or innocence, it's about loyalty, power, and how much control LeBron still has over his empire. Welcome back to the channel. If you're new here, hit that subscribe button because we're about to break down one of the most significant moments in LeBron James' media coverage, and it signals the end of an era. Because Brian Windhorst just published an article linking LeBron James to Damon Jones, a former NBA player who's now been indicted for wire fraud and money laundering in a massive gambling scandal. And this isn't just another report. This is personal. This is payback. This is the moment Brian Windhorst stopped being LeBron's guy. So stick around because we're breaking down what Windhorst actually wrote, why this marks the end of their 2-decade relationship, and what this reveals about LeBron's inner circle becoming his biggest liability. Let's get into it. The article that changed everything. Brian Windhorst has been covering LeBron James for nearly 20 years, since high school, since before the NBA. He's been known, sometimes mockingly, as LeBron's guy, the reporter who followed him everywhere, the one who always had access, the one who protected him. But something just changed. Windhorst published a long, detailed article on ESPN connecting LeBron James to Damon Jones. Now, to be clear, LeBron hasn't been accused of any wrongdoing. The article doesn't suggest LeBron was involved in the gambling scheme. It doesn't accuse him of anything illegal. But what it does do is strategically insert LeBron's name over and over. LeBron's circle, LeBron's routines, LeBron's comfort level with Damon Jones. It paints a picture of close association. It connects dots. It raises questions. And for Brian Windhorst, who has spent 2 decades carefully protecting LeBron's image, this is unprecedented. The timing, payback for Pat McAfee. So why now? Why is Windhorst suddenly writing an article that links LeBron, even tangentially, to a federal gambling case? Let's be honest about what happened. Just weeks ago, LeBron went on the Pat McAfee Show and publicly humiliated Brian Windhorst.
One of these shows not too long ago, like a
Wendy. Yeah, you played over high school.
Wendy, you guys played together in high school.
Yeah,
right? He was on your high school.
this guy was like, says he's like my fucking best friend. These guys are just weird, but
He mocked him. He painted him as a stalker. He essentially said Windhorst has been following him around like a fanboy for 20 years. That wasn't a small thing. That was years of quiet loyalty getting tossed under the bus in front of a national audience. Brian Windhorst has built his entire career around covering LeBron James. And LeBron repaid that loyalty by embarrassing him on one of the biggest sports shows in the country. So when Windhorst suddenly publishes this article, technically journalism, but clearly personal, it's not hard to see what's happening. This is retaliation disguised as objectivity. Windhorst didn't accuse LeBron of anything. But he did something arguably more damaging. He put LeBron's name in the same article as federal indictment, gambling scheme, and wire fraud. Even if LeBron is completely innocent, that association sticks. That's strategic journalism with a personal edge, and it's working. What the article actually reveals. Let's talk about what Windhorst actually wrote, because buried in all the details about Damon Jones's financial troubles and legal issues is something important about LeBron's inner circle. According to the article, Damon Jones wasn't just a former teammate. He was part of LeBron's routine. He traveled with the Lakers as an unofficial staff member in 2023. He had locker room access. He had training room access. He reportedly gambled with the team. And according to the federal indictment, Jones leaked insider information about Lakers player availability to sports bettors, information that would have directly impacted betting markets. Now, LeBron didn't do anything wrong, but the question Windhorst is raising, subtly but clearly, is why was someone like Damon Jones so close to LeBron? Why did he have that level of access? Why was he trusted? That's not about guilt. That's about judgment. The pattern. LeBron's circle becomes a liability. And here's where this gets uncomfortable. Because this isn't an isolated incident. This is a pattern. LeBron has always built his brand around loyalty. The kid from Akron who made it with his day ones. It's powerful. It's authentic. It's been a cornerstone of his image. But that same loyalty, that same insistence on keeping the same people around has become a liability. Maverick Carter admitted to gambling issues. Rich Paul has been involved in controversies. And now Damon Jones is facing federal charges for fraud and money laundering connected to gambling. None of this makes LeBron guilty of anything. But it does raise a question. At what point does loyalty become bad judgment? When your inner circle keeps producing scandals that orbit close enough to damage your brand, you have to start asking whether the people you're protecting are worth protecting. And that's what Windhorst's article is really about. It's not accusing LeBron of anything illegal. It's pointing out that LeBron's greatest strength, his loyalty to his inner circle, might be his biggest weakness. Windhorst's loyalty finally breaks. But let's come back to Windhorst for a second, because this article represents something bigger than just one story. This is the moment Brian Windhorst stopped being LeBron's media bodyguard. For 2 decades, Windhorst has been known as LeBron's guy. He's been mocked for it, he's been criticized for it, but he's also been incredibly successful because of it. His access to LeBron has made him one of the most well-connected NBA reporters in the industry. But this article reads differently. The tone is distant, almost clinical, like he's reporting on someone he used to know but no longer defends. If you read between the lines, this was a message. You embarrassed me on national TV. Now I'll remind everyone that you're not above the mud. Windhorst is reclaiming his credibility. He's showing the world that he's not just LeBron's PR guy. He's a real journalist who will cover uncomfortable stories, even if they involve the person who made his career. That's a power move. That's Windhorst saying, I don't need you anymore. I can report on you just like anyone else. Guilt by association or legitimate concern. So the question becomes, is this guilt by association, or is there something more here? Technically, yes. LeBron is being judged by his associations. He didn't commit any crimes. He's not accused of anything. Damon Jones's actions are Damon Jones's responsibility. But optics matter more than facts in modern sports media. LeBron and Damon Jones weren't just teammates 15 years ago. Jones was part of LeBron's inner circle as recently as 2023. He traveled with the team. He had access. He was trusted. And now he's been indicted for leaking insider Lakers information to gamblers. Even if LeBron had no idea what was happening, that looks bad, because it suggests that LeBron either 1. Didn't vet the people in his circle carefully enough, 2. Knew about questionable behavior and looked the other way, 3. Was so focused on loyalty that he missed red flags. None of those options is good. And all of them damage the carefully curated image LeBron has built. The bigger story, LeBron losing control of his narrative. But here's what this moment really represents. It's not just about one article or one friendship gone wrong. This is about LeBron losing control of his public narrative. For his entire career, LeBron has been masterful at controlling how he's perceived. He controls his social media. He controls his media access. He controls who gets interviews and who doesn't. And for a long time, that worked. Because the media, especially people like Brian Windhorst, were willing to play along. They protected him. They framed stories favorably. They gave him the benefit of the doubt. But something's shifted. The media that once protected LeBron is now willing to question him. And when even Brian Windhorst, the ultimate loyalist, starts connecting your name to a federal gambling case, you know the power dynamic has changed. This isn't just about Damon Jones. This is about LeBron's empire showing cracks. It's about the people who built their careers around him starting to step back. It's about the narrative control slipping. Why this matters? The end of an era. So why does this matter? Why should anyone care about one article connecting LeBron to someone else's scandal? Because this marks the end of an era. The end of the LeBron-Windhorst relationship. The symbolic divorce between player and reporter after 2 decades of symbiosis. For 20 years, Windhorst has been the guy who covered LeBron with access and loyalty. And for 20 years, LeBron benefited from that arrangement. He got favorable coverage, he got context, he got someone who understood his perspective and communicated it to the world. But when LeBron embarrassed Windhorst publicly, he broke that arrangement. He violated the unspoken agreement. And this article is Windhorst's response. It's him saying, "You don't get to use me anymore. You don't get unconditional loyalty anymore. From now on, I'm a reporter first and your defender second." That's historic, that's significant, and it changes how LeBron gets covered going forward. The final word, loyalty has a price. Let me be clear about something. LeBron James is not guilty of Damon Jones's crimes. He's not accused of anything. And this article doesn't change that. But what it does reveal is that LeBron's loyalty, his greatest strength, has become his biggest liability. When the people in your inner circle keep ending up in scandals, eventually people start questioning your judgment. They start wondering why you keep trusting people who let you down. They start asking whether loyalty matters more to you than integrity. And that's a fair question. Brian Windhorst's article is technically journalism, but it's also emotional payback, and it's symbolically historic. It marks a turning point, not just for LeBron, but for how modern sports icons lose control of their narratives once loyalty fades. LeBron built an empire on loyalty to his circle, but that same circle is now threatening the empire he built. And Brian Windhorst just reminded everyone of that fact. If you made it this far, you clearly care about understanding the deeper dynamics of sports media beyond just the surface-level drama. That's what we do here every single week. So if you haven't subscribed yet, now's the time. Hit that subscribe button, turn on notifications so you don't miss when we drop new videos. Drop a comment down below. What's your take? Do you think Windhorst was right to write this article? Do you think LeBron's inner circle is a problem? Has the LeBron-Windhorst relationship changed forever? Let's have a real conversation in the comments. Thanks for watching. We'll catch you on the next one. Peace.